so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how higher end hair tools demonstrate a better result than drugstore or lower end hair tools. So I did do research on this topic, and I'm going to be telling you some facts about it first, and then I'm going to be doing a demonstration later on. I did a blowout with a lower end or drugstore hair dryer and a blowout with a higher end hair dryer, and I'll show you then why the higher end one is better. So I am following along with my notes because I don't want to miss anything, so that's why I keep looking down, just because I want to cover everything. So the first thing is I wanted to find what a drugstore product is and a high-end product. I feel like everyone knows this, but just in case you don't, I'm going to define it for you. I'll put the professional definition on the screen, but I'm just going to give you a simple definition of what I think it is. So basically, a drugstore product or a drugstore hairdryer is just something that tends to be less expensive. It's sold to the average person at a drugstore. So anyone can buy it, and it usually has less expensive technology, therefore making it less expensive. And then a high-end hairdryer or a high-end product is usually the opposite. It's something that's more expensive. It's usually sold to the professional or for professional use, and it has more expensive technology, therefore making it more expensive. Okay, so before I start, I just want to mention the hairdryers I'm going to be comparing in this video. So the first hairdryer, which is the high-end one, is the Twin Turbo 3900. Any of the Twin Turbos are high-end. I'm just using the 3900 because that's the latest model and the one that I have. And my drugstore hairdryer that I'm going to be using is the Revlon Infrared. I think that's how you say it. Infrared hairdryer. It's also called the laser hairdryer, I found, but it's the same exact thing. It's just Walmart calls it one thing and Amazon calls it the other, but I did check, same exact thing. So anyway, I'm going to be comparing those two hairdryers. I'm going to put up a chart right now on both sides. I did a little bit of research on the websites, and I found these charts on, well, one of them I had to make, but Twin Turbo was nice enough to have one of these already made on their website with all the information about their product, anything you would want to know. I put it here, and then I'll put the Revlon one here so you can see. The first thing, as you can notice, which I wanted to start off with, is as you can see, the Revlon chart is a lot more empty than the Twin Turbo one, and that was already one of my problems. Is the drugstore hairdryer did not have that much information on it. It was very hard for me to find. I had to go dig and searching all over the internet to find this information for this hairdryer, which already is a red flag for me, because if you're going to buy a hairdryer and you want to know if it's good, you want to know a lot of information about it, and if they already don't have a lot of information, that doesn't make me want to buy your hairdryer. Where the Twin Turbo one, I went on the website, I selected the hairdryer, and you literally scroll down to the bottom and they have this chart already pre-made with all the information given out for you. Some of that information is not even relevant to me, but it's there and it's good to have. So I just wanted to show you so you could see, and it gives a good comparison of everything that's going on with both hairdryers. Okay, so now I'm going to go into what basically makes a high-end hairdryer, the different technologies, all that. So there's a lot of different technologies for this, but I'm just going to talk about the main two that are in most hairdryers. So there's an ionic technology and there is ceramic technology. So most high-end hairdryers do use an ionic technology just because it's a better technology. It has more pros to it. It has more positive effects, but I'm going to define both of them for you. And again, I'll put the professional definition up on the screen, but I'm just going to give you a gist of what it does. So basically, ionic hairdryers work by transferring negative ions to the hair, and by doing that, it attracts positive ions, which help to dry the hair faster. And then aside from doing that, it seals the strand's cuticles to retain moisture, so the end result is shinier and healthier. Now, ceramic hairdryers do something similar, but ceramic hairdryers work well by regulating heat. So they're very good at keeping heat in the hairdryer. Now, this seems as a positive thing, but can be a negative thing because of the fact that it can damage your hair very easily because it heats up very quickly. Another thing is it's not great for people with frizzy hair. It, again, heats up very quickly, can cause frizz and damage. So if you do have kinky curly hair, something like mine, or very frizzy, you want to go with an ionic blow dryer. Now, most high-end blow dryers are ionic, and most drugstore low-end blow dryers are ceramic just because it's cheaper technology. But because ceramic does have the pro of having temperature control and heating up very fast, a lot of high-end blow dryers now are starting to use both ionic and ceramic technology. The Parlux is a great example of that. Most of their blow dryers now have both, just because the ceramic does have that positive effect, but you need the ionic technology, because otherwise, if you have any kind of frizzy curly hair, the ceramic is not going to be a good option. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is hairdryer weight. I feel like this is quite obvious, but I do want to mention it because it is super important. Most high-end hairdryers are lighter. That is why, big reason that high-end hairdryers are more beneficial. You don't want a hairdryer that is super heavy. A especially if you're working in a professional setting in a hair salon, you're doing 15 to 20 blowouts a day. You're going to end up with carpal tunnel, you're going to end up with arthritis, many health problems from holding that blow dryer that is super heavy. Another problem is also for the common person that blow dries their hair at home. I'm sure you know, if you blow out your hair at home, it's very hard to get that angle. When your arm is constantly up like this with a super heavy hair dryer, it's never going to work. You're going to get frustrated. It's going to be such a big problem. So you don't want a hair dryer that is too heavy. Your arm can get tired. Most drugstore hair dryers tend to be 2 pounds, which 2 pounds does not seem like a lot, but 2 pounds holding over your head is a tremendous amount of weight. Most high-end hair dryers weigh between below 1 pound and 1 pound. So they're usually not higher than 1 pound at all, which makes it so much easier to hold. An example of this is, but the T3 Pro is a high-end hair dryer that's considered very lightweight. And also the one that I'm using, the Twin Turbo, is pretty lightweight. As you can see on the chart, I believe it is less than 1 pound. So the next topic I'm going to talk about is dryer settings. This is extremely important. I can't stress it enough. This is so important because settings are what make your blowout either make or break. So first of all, more expensive hair dryers usually have 3 heat settings and 2 fan speed settings. Mine actually is 3 and 3, so they're starting to do a lot more now on the higher end hair dryers. And most of these hair dryers that have customizable heat and speed settings and airflow settings are usually Ionic. So then again, Ionic is usually high end hair dryer just because it has better technology, therefore making it be able to do the different things with the heat and the speed. So you're not going to get that necessarily in a drugstore dryer because they usually use ceramic, not Ionic technology. Another thing is, again, you want to use as least heat as possible when drying your hair to get the least amount of damage. So a good thing about having multiple speed and heat settings on a hair dryer is you can use a higher speed and a lower temperature setting, and it will be more gentle on your hair and you'll still get a good blowout, but it won't be as much damage on your hair. Another thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to mention before, is also most hair dryers now, a lot of the drugstore ones do have it, but it's called a cool shot button. Basically, it's a button. I will put a diagram of it here. Basically, it's a button. It's in between the top part and the side part, and it blows cold air if you press it. This is great if you're trying to lock in a style with like curls or a bouncy blowout or anything that you want to lock in a style. You don't have to move your hands all the way down to the bottom to hit the cool button. You could just push it while your hand's already up there, and it moves very quickly. A lot of high-end hair dryers now have different types of cool shot buttons, so you can actually control the temperature, like how cold you want it. But also another thing is, a lot of drugstore ones will have the cool shot button but don't have a cool option on the switch, which is also a negative thing because a lot of high ends do have the cool switch. Because if you're trying to lock in a whole style, you don't want to constantly just be holding the cool shot button. You could just set it on cool and not have to push any buttons. So that's definitely a positive with a high-end hair dryer. Okay, so the next topic I'm going to talk about is the motor. This gets a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to explain it as easily as possible because, again, this is super important. A motor is what makes the hairdryer go, so you want to make sure you have a good motor. So basically, there are 2 basic types of motors. On the new hairdryers, the more high-end brand new ones are starting to come out with different types of motors, but the basic main 2 are an AC and a DC motor. Basically, an AC dryers or motors are typically used in salons because their more powerful airflow dries the hair quickly. The DC hair dryer is larger, making it heavier, but it has a more powerful motor and they live a longer life. Now, my hairdryer by Twin Turbo, my high-end one, is an AC motor, and most high-ends are AC motors. Now, you might wonder why of the fact of this, because the DC one is more powerful. Well, an AC motor does have more longevity to it. They tend to have no trouble and last a lifetime. No one's ever had a problem with an AC motor. They usually are pretty good. They last a long time. Also, you could do a lot of things with it and they dry the hair really quick. This is great if you're working in a salon settings. You have to do 15 to 20 blowouts a day. You want to make sure that it dries the hair quickly because otherwise you're losing money. Also, this is great if you're doing a blowout on yourself at home. You have to do this before work. You have to do this before you go somewhere. You want it to be quick and fast. You don't want to be taking 2 hours to dry your hair. Okay, so the last topic I want to talk about is attachments, hairdryer attachments. This again, they're all really important, everything I'm talking about, but this is important as well. So basically I'm gonna just define two attachments for you in case you don't know what they are. So the first one is a nozzle concentrator, which if you want direct airflow from your hair over a specific section of hair, look for an ionic dryer that includes a nozzle concentrator. It's great for blasting certain areas for added volume like your roots. So basically, in terms that are more suitable for everybody, a concentrator just basically directs the airflow to one place of the hair. So basically, if you're doing a blowout that's straight or anything that you want a smooth blowout with no frizz, something like that, you want to put a concentrator on it. It just directs the airflow and heat to one area and keeps it smooth and silky and straight. Okay, the second thing is a diffuser. If you want to dry your hair without winding up into serious frizz, your ionic dryer should include a diffuser. This is necessarily if you have curly hair, so I use a diffuser sometimes. Okay, so as you can hear in all the things I'm reading, they are mentioning ionic dryers. So again, ionic technology is usually in high-end dryers, and all of this is included in an ionic dryer just because of the technology and the price and all of that stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is concentrator. So I actually brought two with me to show you this because it annoys me so much and I feel like this needs to be mentioned. My first problem with the concentrator on a drugstore hairdryer is for some reason they make their concentrators clear plastic. I don't know why they do this. I think it's a design purpose because I think it looks cool, but it does nothing, absolutely nothing for the hair. The point of a concentrator, like I said, is to direct the heat and the airflow to make a smooth blowout. If it is clear plastic, it is not holding any heat in whatsoever. Therefore, it is not doing anything, and you might as well just not have a concentrator on it at all. So I don't know why they do this, and they also do this with the diffuser part, which for someone who has curly hair, it does not help at all. Something like this, which is just a black one. This is from my twin turbo, but most high-end hair dryers have a black or a dark gray concentrator, sorry, and as you can see, it's a totally different material. It's like a harder plastic, and this is great because again, black, dark gray holds in heat and it directs the heat, and it doesn't make it go all over. I also wanted to mention the size of it. As you can see on this one, the size is very thin. It directs the heat flow and airflow very thin to the hair. As you can see, this one is super wide, almost the length of the back of the hairdryer. So again, then you might as well just have no concentrator on at all. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention with these. Most drugstore hair dryers do come with a diffuser and a concentrator, and most high-end hair dryers do not come with a diffuser. They just come with two concentrators, which are two different sizes, which for me it doesn't really matter, but it's good to have that option. I did want to say though that even though it might be a negative thing for a lot of people that high-end hair dryers don't come with diffusers, you can buy a diffuser attachment usually separately for that hair dryer, or you could just go on Amazon and they have diffuser attachments that fit on any hair dryer. But the reason being for that is basically just most high-end hair dryers, you're using it in a salon to blow out somebody's hair straight, do a blowout. You're mostly not doing curly hair with that, so you don't really need a diffuser. And diffusers kind of went out the window now. Many people just air dry their hair. They're not really that popular anymore, but you won't find those in a high-end hair kit, but you'll most likely find it in a drugstore hair kit. I believe the only high-end hair dryer that carries it with a diffuser is the Dyson, and that is $400. So again, hopefully you do get a diffuser because it is a very expensive hair dryer. Okay, so that is it for basically all the factual information. Now I'm just going to be doing the demonstration for you guys. Again, I'm going to be doing a blowout with my twin turbo 3900, which is a high-end hair dryer, on a mannequin, and I'm going to be doing the same thing on another mannequin with my Revlon infrared or laser hair dryer. I wish I could do this on a person, but because of Corona, I had to use a mannequin, which was very challenging, but we did get it done. Also, as you will see, I pre-filmed this. As you can see, you will see, very obviously, we had some technical difficulties with the drugstore hair dryer. I absolutely hate drugstore hair dryers. I haven't used one since making this video, so it was very interesting to use it. We had some issues, but you will see that further on in the video, and you will see why a high-end hair dryer is more beneficial for the hair. Okay, so this is my high-end hair dryer, my Twin Turbo 3900. It has 3 speed settings and 3 heat settings, and then it also has a cool shot button. Okay, so I started off with a freshly washed mannequin, and I'm just using this Pulp Riot blow dry spray. I sprayed it all over the wet hair, and then I made sure it was thoroughly combed through. Next, I just sectioned the hair how I normally would for a blow dry into 2 front sections and then 2 in the back, so 4 all together, and then I just divide it up like that and clip up the remaining section that I am not using. Okay, so now I just started the blow dry, and I wanted to mention that with this hair dryer, because it is so lightweight, I can actually hold it by the handle, which is extremely important because it's the professional way to do it and it just looks better, is more comfortable. But as you'll see with the drugstore one, it is way too heavy and it is way too hard to control the airflow because it is so long that I actually have to hold it by the base. I'm about halfway done with this blowout now, and as you can see, it is coming out so beautiful. There is no frizz whatsoever. The blow dryer and brush are gliding through the hair so smoothly. I also wanted to mention both mannequins in this video do have color treated hair, so you will see how the blow dryer and blowout is affected by that. Okay, so I just finished blow drying the hair, and I'm going to be applying this Pulp Bright Shine Mist all over the hair, and then I'm just going to be running it through with my fingers. Okay, so this is the final result. As you can see, it came out beautifully, and it only took me 17 minutes and 30 seconds to do. Again, this is me just showing you a bunch of different overviews of it, but sleek, straight, amazing. Moving on to the drugstore blow jar, it is the Revlon one. We just have the cool shot button right there, as well as 2 heat settings and 2 speed settings. Start off with clean, damp hair and applying the same Pulp Bright blow dry spray as I did before. Okay, so I didn't mention this, but I did comb it out and section it just how I did with the other mannequin, and then I just went straight in and started blowing out the hair. And as you can see, like I mentioned before, I have to hold the blow dryer by the base, not by the handle, because it is too heavy and the base is too long that I don't get enough control when doing this. Okay, so as you can see, I'm about halfway done with this blowout now, and as you can see, it is not going very well. The hair still is extremely wet, which is making it get stuck in the brush, and I have to go over it a million times, and as you can see, it turns out super, super frizzy. The ends are just looking like they're fried off. Okay, so at this moment the hairdryer actually overheated, so I had to wait 3 hours until it was safe to use again, which is an extreme inconvenience, especially if you're working on a client or you have to go somewhere. You wouldn't be able to wait those 3 hours. Also, this hairdryer does not have a removable filter, so I wasn't even able to clean it out if anything was clogged. Okay, so now after a long waited 3 hours, I actually had to wet the hair again because it dried within those 3 hours and blow out the section that was left. And as you can see, it's still getting stuck in the brush. It's still not really drying, so it was an extreme inconvenience and very annoying to do. Okay, so after finally finishing this blowout, I just applied the same Pulp Bright Shine Mist as I did on the other mannequin and ran it through with my fingers. Okay, so this is the finished result, and as you can see, it is super frizzy. The ends are super fried. The hair doesn't flow at all. It just kind of stays sticking out of the side of the head. Okay, so as you can see, this blow dry took 27 minutes, obviously longer than the other one, and also you have to count on the fact that I had to wait 3 hours for it to not be overheating. Okay, so this is the side-by-side comparison of the high-end blow dryer and the drugstore blow dryer, and as you can see, the high-end blow dryer is so much better than the drugstore blow dryer. It is so much smoother. There is no frizz. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and everyone please go buy a high-end blow dryer.